So starting off, first thing you want to do is create a new composition. Width 1080 by 1920, so that's the aspect ratio that I use to create reels. Frame rate, we're going to make that, I think I use 24 FPS. Duration, we'll make that 10 seconds. And if we go to advanced, shutter angle, let's just make that 180. I think that's the default. And click OK. So we have a new composition. Now what I'm going to do really quick is just bring my composition from this monitor into the recording so you guys can see exactly what's going on this second monitor over here. And the first thing you probably notice is I have these transparent checkers here. I've basically just clicked this button down here. I don't actually like it being black because it makes me think that it is black when it's not. It's actually transparent. So what I like to do is make it so it's transparent and then go ahead. The first thing I do is create a new solid. Press OK, and now this is going to be my black solid. And then if I happen to change the background, kind of like in the Eminem edit, I'll just add a fill. And once again, this is FX console, so I just press Control Space. I can type in fill, and you can see I can change this to any color I want, and now this can be my background layer. But we're gonna go ahead and leave that black because in the edit I used a black background. And the next thing I'm gonna do, because this is a 3D edit, is I'm gonna create a camera. So I'm gonna go new camera. I'm gonna make sure this is on a 1-node camera. I'm gonna call this camera 1, that's fine. I'm not gonna mess with any settings. You can actually change these settings later. So if I click OK, you can just double click the camera layer. Sometimes I've just accidentally edited with a 2-node camera, but you can just come back in here, change it to 1 node. And then the next thing I normally do is spend a good at least 2-3 hours picking the right font. Now this is the most important part, and this is what I see. It's probably the biggest mistake I see in edits is people don't nail the right font. Now I'm a font guy. I literally spent 5 days looking for the perfect fonts for my website. And normally with each edit, I'm spending hours going through fonts. The wrong font can really throw an edit off. So make sure you spend time picking the right font. With this project, I already found one. So we're gonna create a new text layer here, or you can just click the text tool at the top and we're going to type hello, and that font is Pirata 1. I have a link to this in the pack. This font is too small. I'm gonna make it 200 pixels. It's still too small, so let's go maybe 300. And our text is centered and it's already the color yellow that I wanted it to be. And now I'm going to use the extrude plugin. The main method I want to get across in this tutorial is how I animate the camera, because that's the thing that's really unique to my edits, is that the camera just goes crazy. So whether you want 2D text or 3D text, that's completely up to you. I'm going to use the extrude plugin. I'm going to bring this panel on screen so you can see the settings. And I'm going to make this extrude color the same yellow, but a bit darker, and it kind of gives that sort of 3D depth look. And also right off the bat, this plugin is pretty cool. You can do heaps of stuff with it. But in order to get it work with a 3D camera, what I got to do is choose the mode as 3D camera. And now it'll actually work. So if I go forward in 3D space, now the layer is actually 3D. So now what we're going to do is create a new null object. I'm actually going to label this probably tan and go back into the extrude plugin, because our 3D transform layer is now actually the null one, which we're going to rename hello transform. So this is basically our 3D controlling layer, and all the movement of the text and the angle and the position and everything happens on this null layer. So if I click on this null layer and press R, you can see I can now rotate this text in 3D space. Now I'm not actually rotating the text layer, it's only happening on the null layer. Now you'd think the next thing we do is start animating, but actually the first thing I do when I'm editing is I actually create the look that I want. So I'm going straight into the color correction now. I want to get the final look dialed in so I know exactly how this edit's going to look, because at the moment this doesn't look good and it's not looking inspiring to edit. So now I'm going to create an adjustment layer, and this is where that Dehancer plugin comes in. You don't have to use Dehancer, you can use any color correction. If you have Red Giant Universe, you can use Magic Bullet Looks, or you can even use Lumetri. But I really like Dehancer. It's got a lot of settings, as you can see here. I'm not gonna go super in depth with this because a lot of you probably don't have this plugin, but I like to first mess with like a film look. So these are just straight up presets. You can just throw it on. It's gonna give me sort of the right direction in sort of what I want this edit to look like. All right, and this is the look I landed on. So it's got a little bit of a glow to it. If I turn it off and on, you can see the film grain. You can see it's just softened the sort of harshness of the yellow and gave it like a pretty cool like ambient glow. Next thing I'm going to do is add the texture layer. Now you guys can find this in the pack. It's called the My Eyes texture. It's the one I use for this edit. If I just turn it off and on, you can see it's given the text that grittiness. By the way, this texture is on blend mode multiply. You can try a couple of different blend modes. Overlay even looks really good, but I have mine on multiply, and you can see it's made the text look really dark. So let's go ahead and grab another adjustment layer, and we're just going to brighten up the text with a simple exposure. So I'm just going to type in exposure. You can also just use Lumetri if you want to, and I'm going to go to probably 1.3 on the exposure. And I might also add just a little saturation. So just going to bump that up to maybe like 14. That looks pretty good. So if we turn off the color correction now, so we're going to turn off the exposure, turn off the texture, turn off the dehancer, and that's the default. Turn them all back on. Now we're in business. I'm going to go back to that hello transform layer. I'm going to press R. Now when I rotate this, so this is looking cool. So now I'm feeling a lot more inspired to start making a really cool edit. That's a big reason why I prefer to create the look first, get the color correction dialed in as soon as I start the edit. It sort of gives me motivation. And then when I do the animation, I turn off all these layers. I can do the animation, smooth rendering. And then when I want a proper preview, I can turn it back on, hit render, see everything nice. Now the extrude plugin doesn't actually have built-in motion blur. So I'm going to use CC Force Motion Blur. I'm going to put that down there. So those are the adjustment layers set up. You can see the 4 brown layers we have here. Now we're going to create one more solid, and this is going to be the CC particle world. So these are the particles I use in the edit. I'm not sure if you can see them, but it helps sell the effect of the 3D camera moving in 3D space. Without those particles, it would look good, but it just helps sell that effect just that little bit more. So I'm gonna go ahead and press OK. And this is what the default's gonna look like. So I'm gonna go ahead and open up everything, and I'm gonna give you the settings I use for my edit. So I'm gonna turn off all the grid and guides because we don't need any of this. Next, I'm gonna do longevity. This is pretty much how long the particles are live. I'm gonna give that 5 seconds. These 3 settings here are the settings that matter. So the XYZ radius are pretty much how much space the particles take up. So I'm gonna make this 5, 5, and 5, and this just allows me to go really far in X, Y, or Z space with the camera, and the particles will still be there. Velocity, I'm gonna do 0 because I don't really want the particles to move because the camera is gonna be doing all the movement. The particles, I just want them to exist so that when I'm moving in 3D space, it helps sell the effect. Gravity to 0. And also particle type, we don't want our particles to be lines, so I'm gonna go with faded sphere. Change the birth size to 0.1, death size to 0.1. And birth color will be white, and I'm just gonna make the death color black. So it kind of just particles appear on for 5 seconds, and as they die, they slowly fade black. You can obviously mess with these settings and create whatever particles you want to make, but this is just what I use for my edit. And I will close all these now. So if you like your particles, but you don't like where they are, maybe one's like in the way of the camera, you can just change the seed. So if you just change the seed to, let's say, I don't know, 20, the particles will basically be in a completely new seed, kind of like a Minecraft seed, and it'll just be a completely new world. So sometimes you just got to keep messing with the seed to make sure there's not a particle like right in front of the camera, because it can just look a bit weird sometimes. So that's it for the layer setup. So we have our black solid, which is our background. We have our CC particle world, which is our particles. We have our camera, our text layer, which has the extrude plugin on it, and we also have the null layer for our text to move in 3D space. We also have our force motion blur since we're using extrude. We have dehancer, texture, and then exposure as our color correction to just give it that nice look. I'll see you in the next tutorial where we get to animating this text.